There's a certain kind of quiet that only exists on snow days. The world slows down, plans get canceled, and suddenly there's nowhere to hide. And whatever you've been avoiding inside gets louder. These boxes have been sitting in the corner of my office for weeks now. Not because I didn't have the time, but because opening them would mean admitting something. That this idea, this dream, has crossed the line from imagination to responsibility. Hello. Hi guys. Welcome back to a new vlog. And happy snow day! It's incredibly gorgeous and scary all at the same time. And I think it's supposed to snow all day today. So yeah, there's that. But hey, if it's your first time stopping by my channel, hello, welcome to you guys too. My name is Sadé. Can I say? So by day, I am a full-time corporate paralegal. And by night, I am a side hustling YouTuber. And just recently decided to add entrepreneurship to the mix because why not make life a little bit more chaotic? Let's sit down a little bit and get cozy. My sweet girl here, Bali. If you see her walking around a little bit, don't mind her. Anyway, so yeah, when I am not working my full-time job, I am happily pouring every ounce of my physical, mental, and emotional energy into trying to build this new business, which is a luggage and travel accessories brand that I've called Samaán, which means belongings in Hindi. If you're tuning in from my personal YouTube channel at Illustrated by Sadé, and you've been around for some time, then you know that travel is a passion of mine. It is my love language. And honestly, it is my way of trying to understand the world. It's crazy as it is right now. And if you're tuning in from my brand new business channel at mysamaan, that's exciting. Hi. But yeah, just know that this passion project has been a long time coming. I was very lucky and had the privilege of living overseas for a few years. And I feel like that time and experience really deepened my love for travel. But what it also showed me was that traveling can be hella stressful, especially with regards to packing and the way that we move throughout the world, especially as a woman. So back in 2018, we were living in the Middle East and traveling quite a bit. And I kind of had this little spark, this idea that, what if someday in some far distant future, if I were brave enough, I could actually design a line of luggage that is actually for the way women pack and move. And fast forward to last year, I would say was probably one of my toughest years. My self-worth last year was probably at an all-time low. My depression was prevalent and heavy. So I did what I could to try and seek as much therapy and counseling and consultation from my close friends and my family, people that I trust and I love and who love me, and all the things, because I was struggling when I'm by myself. You try to put on a brave face and smile and mix company, but oftentimes those feelings really creep back in when you're alone, isolated in your own thoughts. And then I also did a lot of reading to try and have some introspection and self-reflection. And I actually read one book by this author called Martha Beck. I'll link the book down below, but in the book, she explains something so simple, but yet so powerful. And essentially what she says is that she asks you to listen to your emotions, and including your pain. Don't shy away from them. Dig deeper into them, because oftentimes your pain is a signal trying to tell you that you're going in the opposite direction from your true north. And what is the opposite of pain? Joy. Follow joy. So I don't know what it was about that line that just like struck me, you know. I think it's probably just one of those things you just needed to hear. But anyways, it sounded simple enough. Follow your joy. And at the point where I felt like I felt lost, that seemed like pretty good advice. So from then on, I decided I was on a mission to do just that, follow my joy, which brought me to deciding, okay, I'm gonna go for it. That seed that I had planted all those years ago, I felt a little bit of sunshine in my heart, and I was like, maybe I should actually start taking some steps to bring this dream into fruition. And now, months later, I am sitting in front of a very real pile of inventory, which will be Samaán's first product ever that we're launching. And that is our premium vacuum compression packing cubes, alongside these mini vacuum compressors and even a dust bag for storage with our branding on it. It still kind of blows my mind that, you know, just by following my joy, months later, it's brought me here. Still have a long road ahead of me, but this feels vindicating in a way, and I feel proud of myself in this moment for even making it this far. But before I can even ship out a single product, this mess, this pile, I gotta get it together. Although it's not a requisite to be mentally prepared to do what I'm trying to do, I do think it is important to get organized and make space for what's to come physically, emotionally, and mentally. This brand exists because of my grandmother, because she fled Cuba in the middle of the night with one bag and a life she refused to abandon. Freedom and autonomy aren't abstract ideas to me, they're inherited. And building this brand has meant unlearning the belief that I wasn't worthy of creating something that mattered. So today I'm organizing my office, but really I'm organizing my fear. I'm making room and space for what's coming. All right, these are the packing cubes. Let me open one so you guys can take a look. Doesn't look like much in the package, but this is what you would fill up with your clothes for your trips. It's a very nice size. It's clear, completely transparent in the back, and it has this clear strip in the front so that you can see what you're packing. And then it has a vacuum port here where you would attach your mini compressor to compress the bag. And it has sturdy handles for you to be able to zip close the very good quality airtight seal zipper that surrounds the entire cube. And I have traveled with this a couple of times and I absolutely love it. I think it's going to be a great addition to my travel packing system, and I hope that you will find some great benefit out of it as well. But clearly I haven't done anything with it since it came in from the manufacturer. So one of the things that I want to do with this pile that I have been avoiding like the plague, one, because I feel like it makes this whole process real. Like I can no longer avoid it and tell myself that I'm not ready because I just haven't done anything with it yet. And I think largely that just comes out of a little bit of fear, if I'm honest. So I want to get this organized. I also want to take inventory so I can start kind of populating my inventory sheet that I'm going to use to track once we make sales, and just to make sure that we're keeping good accounting of what we have in stock. hopefully we get some sales. And yeah, so I don't want to chat anymore because I feel like it's going to take me all day to do this, to try and get organized. So let's just get to it. For so long, Samaán lived in my notebooks, in sketches, and in late nights after work, in moments where fear and hope sat side by side. Seeing it here in my hands feels like crossing a bridge I wasn't sure I was brave enough to walk across. All right, I have finished counting each just to make sure that I get my numbers right when I plug this into my inventory sheet, which I'll show you guys here in a moment. So for this first sample batch, as this is my first product and my first time working with this manufacturer, we decided to only order 40 to start, just because I want to take baby steps and validate, market acceptance and make sure that people actually care to buy this. So I didn't want to go overboard with ordering a bunch of product that will just sit. And I felt like 40 was just a sweet spot number. We're likely going to sell these in 2 bundles and individually. So bundle 1 will be 1 vacuum compression packing cube and 1 mini vacuum compressor. And bundle 2 will be 2 packing cubes and 1 vacuum compressor. And then of course you can buy them individually, just 1 packing cube or the mini vacuum compressor if you don't already have one. In this pile here, I count 38, one because I took one, because I wanted to be able to take it with me when I travel, get a sense of what it feels like. Does it meet my expectations? Because I am also a consumer and I want to make sure that whatever I'm putting out into the market, isn't going to be some bullshit. So, and I have traveled with it a couple times now and I absolutely love it. I feel like it fits in seamlessly with my travel packing system. Definitely lessens the stress of having to get ready for a trip, knowing that I can pack a week's worth of clothes in here and vacuum it down and have it all fit nicely and organized within my bag. So this is exactly what I envisioned, and I couldn't ask for anything better than the way that it turned out. I'm sure there are going to be some tweaks we'll do here and there, and obviously taking feedback from people who outside of myself who are using it. And obviously we're going to be implementing that. But as a start, as someone who doesn't know what they're doing, I feel very happy with the product that we have to start with and to launch. So I need to count all of the inventory. I finished this. I have 38, like I said. 1 I took for myself. The very first sample that the manufacturer made that we approved, I gave that one to my business partner and co-founder. It doesn't even have Samaán branding on it. It's just like the very first one that he made outside of the mold. So that brings us to a total of 38 that we can upload to our Shopify store. If you haven't subscribed to that, join our carry crew at samaantravel.com to get news and updates of when we plan on launching. We also have these dust bags. Let me show you guys. This is what I envision people will use to pack and store your packing cube when you're not using it. All right. So these bags we actually had made from a small business owner here in the US, and they're a decent size, just like a regular drawstring dust bag with our branding on it. And so when your cube is not in use, I imagine you can put this inside, keep it as storage. I know this is also very helpful when people travel. Maybe they can use it for laundry or anything else really, but it's a very nice soft canvas material. And we are also going to be including these as a promotion for a few of the first purchases when we launch, so that you can get them for free, and then we'll sell them individually if this is something that you should want to include with your purchase. So I really have not opened these at all. And it's been a couple of weeks, so I need to count them and make sure that we have the number and the amount that we ordered. Let's do that. 1. Okay, everything appears to be in order. So my total count is 50 of these dust bags, which is exactly spot on what we ordered. We ordered 40 of our cubes and we have 38 again, because I took one to use for marketing and creating content and just using it to give my own user experience on the website. And then also the initial sample that I gave to our business co-founder. And then we have 39 mini vacuum compressors, which these are not branded because obviously we ordered so few, but eventually as we grow, there is a possibility that we'd be able to brand them under our brand name. But because this is our first time, unfortunately, we were not able to customize them. But I have used this and traveled with it, and it's a very good pump. And so I'm excited to be able to include those as an addition into the bundles, because obviously if you're going to have a compression cube, you need a mini compressor. So that basically covers product. Now, what else I have here in this corner are shipping supplies, and it doesn't really look like much. We have our boxes here, which are 18 by 14 by 4, which is more or less the size of the packing cube. So it's a very nice large size. So I want to kind of put it into a bundle, and most importantly, well, maybe not most important, but definitely important. One thing I haven't yet done is actually measure and weigh each of the bundles and the products as we intend to ship them out. One thing my business and partner and I have been going back and forth is whether or not we're going to charge for shipping. Myself as a consumer, I never like to pay for shipping, and honestly, I'm a part of Amazon Prime's program, so even though we're technically paying for it, it is nice to have our products that we use so frequently shipped to our house for quote unquote free. And I haven't determined yet whether that is something that we want to offer and provide, being that I'm such a small business and really being mindful of not going into the red essentially. But that's neither here nor there. I think the first thing we need to do is box up some of these bundles, measure them and weigh them, and then cross-reference them with the rates for USPS, FedEx, and UPS to get a sense of how much is it going to cost to ship on the East Coast of the United States versus Central, West Coast, etc. And then figure out, okay, is this something that we could take as a loss, shipping or including shipping in the pricing, or if this is something that we're gonna unfortunately have to charge out to our customers. So anyways, enough of me chatting. Let's put some bundles together and we'll figure out where we land. All right. So we purchased these boxes. As I said, they're 18 by 14 by 4, which pretty much match the width, length, and height of our packing cube. So I want to kind of set a box up here and see if I can actually fill it with a few of these bundles, and then figure out how much it's going to cost to ship out. All right, a few of the shipping supplies that I purchased to make sure that I'm prepared to fulfill a lot of these orders are in this box. I can kind of talk you through it. So this is obviously packing paper. Have some here to be able to stuff to make sure that your items stay protected. So I bought a big roll of that. And then on top of that, I think this is the tape dispenser. It is. So I don't know, I know you guys have noticed, at least on your Amazon packages, that, we have this brown water activated tape. And we went ahead and purchased our own with Samaán branding. I'll show you in a moment, but it requires like this not so pretty tape dispenser. Essentially, you put some water in this little front carriage part here. You put the tape in, then it slides, and then it wets the backside, or not the backside, the backside of the tape, the undercarriage of the tape. It wets it, and then that activates this sticky part. So definitely gonna need this. And I'll be using that as well to probably, I guess I could set some boxes up, kind of pre-set them up, at least try and add tape towards the bottom and just kind of stack them so that that's one less thing I'd have to do. And then where is the actual tape? Here it is. perfect. So here's some branded Samaán tape. Let's see if I can get that to focus. Sit upside down and probably backwards. But anyways, no, yeah, it's this way. So this is our branded tape. We only purchased one roll. I'm not sure how much of this I'll actually need. I guess I'll get a better sense of it once I start to tape up these boxes. But this is what we'll be putting inside of this tape dispenser and rolling. And then so I thought it's a nice touch. When you get the box, you'll already see our packaging, our branding, sorry, on the exterior. So I'm gonna set that to the side there. We also ordered that from another local small business here in the US, which is nice, want to support. And then because these mini vacuum compressors do have internal like USB chargeable batteries, we wanted to make sure that we put the proper designations on the outside of the packaging just so that the carrier knows that there are batteries inside. So that's a little sticker tape. I think I purchased that on Amazon for like 18 bucks. Like it was not that expensive. I also purchased some extra poly bags just in case I needed them. When I ordered my packing cubes, I wasn't sure whether or not they were already going to come wrapped in plastic just to protect them, but thankfully our manufacturer did include them. So I have an extra pack here. Haven't opened it, but in the case that we need some extra protection or I want to cover everything up, I'll have those. And here is the scale that I also purchased off of Amazon. Also relatively inexpensive. I think it was like 20 bucks or something like that. And this is a scale that I'm going to be using to weigh and measure our boxes. I haven't opened it yet. Don't really know how to use it. It is battery operated and it even came with a nice little measuring tape here so that we can measure, and a cord to be able to charge it. So I'm going to set this to the side because we're definitely going to be using that to measure some of these packages and just go through these quickly. Also with each of my packages, I wanted to, especially for this first beta launch, because this is like such a momentous, and big first step for Samaán. I wanted to, kind of extend my gratitude to those first 30-ish people that purchased from us. So I went on to Canva. If you don't use Canva, it's freaking amazing. They have a free option for you, but I pay for their premium service because, you have unlimited access to all of the incredible features that they have on there, including making thank you cards. And so I made these really nice thank you cards and wrote a letter on each of them, and I want to be able to include these into each of the orders that we ship out. And I think you can also, I also printed these out through Canva as well, and they're really good quality. It came within like a week. So I was very happy with that purchase, and we'll definitely be using Canva again. I do use it religiously anyway. And let's see, got 2 more items in here. Really important. These are our shipping and tongue twister. These are our shipping labels. And this is from a brand called Rollo. So as a new founder, someone who doesn't know shit about business, I've obviously been trying to do as much research as I can and consuming a lot of business content, including other small business owners and creators on YouTube who are just so kind and generous of just sharing all of their knowledge on YouTube for free, no gatekeeping. And so a lot of the founders say that they use this brand Rollo. It's a really good brand, apparently. We'll see. So these are like thermal activated shipping labels, which means you don't need any ink for this. And they just kind of stack up and they roll through Rollo's printer. I don't know if you guys can see that. Hopefully it's focused up front. But anyways, this is the printer. It's very small. I'm excited to set it up, likely on my bookshelf behind my desk, right next to my regular size printer. But it's Bluetooth operated. Again, you don't need any ink, any toner. The reason why I went with this brand is because reviews across the board said that this one doesn't get jammed, like in terms of efficiency and reliability. This one got really high marks, this brand in particular. So over Black Friday, because these are not cheap, these are like $300 or $200. I don't even remember now, but it was in the hundreds. Ink printer or label printer. So over Black Friday, I went and bought it, and it was like on a really good sale. So I haven't opened it yet, hoping to set it up today, so that this is the last thing that we'll need to be able to slap on that label and send out your orders. So, all right, let's work on getting some packages together, measuring them, weighing them, kind of see where we land, take some notes, and yeah, we'll keep going. This feels like such a small thing. I'm almost 40 years old, and I've assembled boxes before. I've figured out tools, I've followed instructions, and yet, for some reason, this one feels different. Because when you're building something that matters to you, even the smallest steps feel heavier. Not because they're hard, but because I guess you want to get them right. Starting a business is scary when you don't know what you're doing. Every task, even something as simple as taping a box, suddenly feels like it carries weight. Like one wrong move could somehow unravel the whole thing. I think that's where I am right now. Moving carefully, measuring twice, second-guessing myself, trying to protect the dream by being cautious. But at some point, I know I'll have to let go. Throw caution to the wind, step out on faith instead of certainty. I will mess up. I'm gonna make mistakes. I will fall down. But I'm choosing to believe that this process, all of it, will teach me how to fall forward, and more importantly, how to get back up. First box down. I don't know why I was so scared to do that. I feel like a little kid learning to walk, to be honest. Wanting to measure like a good amount of tape by eye just to make sure I don't overdo it. And yeah, so as soon as you wet it, it does get like super sticky. Again, I feel like I'm doing a freaking science project over here, but let's go ahead and grab some of the product and just throw that over there for a second. So let's start with bundle 1, which is gonna be 1 packing cube. It should fit in here quite nicely. And then 1 mini vacuum compressor. And then also I've got my thank you cards. So essentially I want to get this into like a better system, because hopefully we'll get a good amount of orders once we launch, and I don't want to be doing this. Like I feel like I'm all over the place right now. I want to be able to like do it like clockwork and set up a better system so that I can go through these efficiently. So here is like the launch thank you card that I created with a nice letter from my heart behind it. And then these are like our regular thank you cards. And I don't know if I should, maybe I'll just do the launch ones for this first 40, and then I'll save these if we are so lucky to be able to do a second batch order if these do happen to sell out. Make sure I add this tape. All right. All right, here goes nothing. I did put a little bit of Scotch tape just to kind of keep it closed. Obviously, I don't want to seal the box completely, but it's because it's too big and I couldn't see the display. I figured I have to close it a little bit just to get it on here. So where are we now? 2 pounds and 5.1 ounces. So this is for bundle 1, 1 packing cube, 1 vacuum compressor, and a dust bag, and a thank you card. The day is escaping me. It is now almost 3 p.m. and I just spent an hour on the phone with my cousin, who thankfully is a small business owner himself, and he also works full-time at one of the major shipping carriers here in the US. So he's like, I can't think of a better person to talk to when trying to figure out, the whole shipping process, where we should land and how much we should charge for shipping, if any, and then setting up my USPS business account. So he recommended that I do that, and then also set up accounts with UPS and FedEx, because sometimes rates vary depending on which zone in the country that you're in, whether it be on the East Coast like I am versus on the West Coast. And then we also did a little bit of research with some of the other like luggage or travel accessory brands, and they seem to have kind of standardized their shipping. So if you don't meet their minimum purchase requirement, they charge a $10 flat rate for regular ground shipping, presumably through USPS. Priority, I think it's like maybe 3 days, 2 to 3 days, $25, and then express, which is presumably by air, maybe 1 to 2 days, $35 for that. So just something to think about, a reference point to kind of help guide me and figure out how I could either incorporate that or, charge the customer for that. That way, because the margins on these cubes are going to be very, very thin. And I just want to be mindful that as I'm, building, that I'm also adding a little bit of cushion to be able to reinvest some of the profit margins that we make back into the business so I can keep growing, scaling, buying more inventory, etc. So I have measurements for all of the different bundle types, including, if I were to ship just like an individual packing cube unit, and the scale is very precise. So I was able to use that in the dimensions and just plug it in to USPS's business postage price calculator to get a general sense of how much things cost. Maybe I'll put an example of that here on the screen just so that you can have an idea on pricing. So on average, I feel like, for the ground shipping, people are gonna, like the businesses, probably take a little bit of a cut if they're shipping, especially if they're shipping more further north, like anything over 1,800 miles on the West Coast, which is what I think it's like 3,000 miles from where I am in Maryland on the East Coast. But I feel like it's a happy medium. Maybe I may take a little bit of a loss, but then I don't charge an exorbitant amount for shipping to our customers, because I know me as a consumer, I struggle with paying for shipping for anything. We've just gotten so spoiled with like Amazon Prime. And yes, it's just kind of built in to our package, the shipping fees. And they have so many, they probably get really discounted rates for shipping because they have their own logistics system. I ain't got it like that. So I'm going to have to economize and make sure that I'm being very careful and monitoring how things like shipping rates kind of chip into our margins, which are already quite challenging after all is said and done. Manufacturing, shipping here to the US, and then shipping supplies, getting the package over to you, all of the marketing, everything that goes into it. So anyways, I am going to spend probably the next 30 minutes plugging these numbers into an Excel sheet. I don't know if you guys use AI to help out with your small business. I have been relying on it heavily because, again, my business acumen is little to none. And so it's been very helpful to, ask my questions to ChatGPT, which is what I've been using to help give me a little bit of guidance. And what's been really great and wonderful is that based on my prompts, I've been able to ask ChatGPT to kind of create an inventory tracking sheet for me. Maybe I'll post it here on the screen so you guys can kind of glimpse and take a look. And essentially it just tracks like my starting inventory, how the sales are going each and every day, and it'll automatically calculate, based on the number or the average number, of units sold each day, whether I need to place a new order. So it already does that thinking for me. And then also I want to also incorporate shipping rates. So not only does it figure out revenue for each product category that I sell, whether it be bundle 1, bundle 2, or the individual units, but then I also wanted to figure out shipping so that I can constantly be monitoring these things. And I wanted to do it this way because I don't want to have to think about it. Like, I'm working 3 jobs at this point, between my full-time job, my YouTube channel, this business, and then, I also have a part-time job working at a bookstore, which is giving me supplemental income so that I can manage all of these things. So literally, the more I can systematize this entire process, the better I think it'll be for me and for my bandwidth and my energy, especially on weeks where things get really busy with my primary job, which obviously is my main focus right now because that is my main source of income. But I'm excited to be diving into this. I obviously have a lot to learn, long way to go. And I'm so thankful to my cousin who has had his business for some time now, again, works for a shipping carrier and is so knowledgeable on these things. And just the fact that I can call him and tap into that resource and someone to give me guidance is just invaluable. So I really appreciate that. And then also ChatGPT, shout out to AI for helping me stay sane and giving me guidance as well. So that is what I'm gonna do for the next 30 minutes. I'm gonna lock in and then we're gonna check in after and try and figure out how to continue getting my office a little bit more tidy because it definitely is not right now. All right, let's keep going. I'm really grateful to have someone like my cousin in my corner, someone who understands the machinery behind the scenes, because now I'm trying to figure out how I want to show up as a brand. How do I make shipping feel gracious and fair to the person ordering from me while also being honest about the fact that I'm a small business, still learning, still building, still dreaming bigger than this first launch. I order things all the time without thinking twice about how they get to my door. But when you stop and really think about it, it's kind of incredible. The layers of effort, the precision, the coordination, it's systems on top of systems on top of systems. And if this is what it takes at a small scale, I can't even begin to wrap my head around something like Amazon. It's wild, truly. But that's also the lesson. The reason companies like that can scale isn't magic, it's foundations. They built systems that could support growth long before growth arrived. I know I'm gonna mess all this up at some point, and I'll have to adjust, I'll pivot, I'll learn the hard way sometimes. But if I can get into the habit of building good systems now, whether that be in shipping, in operations, in life, my chances of succeeding grow exponentially. And honestly, despite everything happening in the world right now, there's never been a better time to start. AI has lowered the barrier to information and knowledge in a way we've never seen before. It has been my guide this entire journey, and today it feels like I'm not just dreaming, I'm building. Okay guys, popping back in. I probably spent entirely too much time on this, but this is important. I feel like if I can get this part right, we will be set when it's time to launch, and all I have to do is plug in a few numbers and then the chart will automatically do the rest for me. So essentially what I had ChatGPT do is draft an Excel sheet for me in my Google Sheet doc, something that I could download and import into my drive, and that could live there so that I can track orders daily. Let me pull it in a little bit for you guys so that you can see. Okay, anyway, this is gonna be a little nerdy, so I do apologize for those who really don't care. Feel free to fast forward. But essentially, this is how the chart is broken down. So you start with the date. This is something that, you can just populate, drag and drop automatically, and it'll populate. These columns track starting inventory, units sold today, units remaining, units sold to date, percentage, 3-day average, estimated days to sell out, estimated sellout date, lead time, which is a lead time I need for my manufacturer to produce everything, get it shipped over here, etc. A reorder status, and then the bundles are broken down by bundle 2, bundle 1, the individual cube, and then it automatically calculates units sold per day, revenue received, and then orders shipped based on standard and priority rates. It automatically inputted the standard USPS zone rates because obviously I'm on the East Coast, so packages that are going to the West Coast, for example, they have a different rate depending on where you are in the country. An average of the shipping rates charged for each day based on total packages sold for the entire day, U.S. postage costs, shipping profits and losses, et cetera, gross profit, net profit after shipping, etc. So this is like so good. I mean, I'm sure I can expand this to add a few more other figures, but I feel like this is probably enough that I need to just get started. So essentially all I need to do is really plug in, like I said, the date, and then these columns in blue, all the blue columns. So for example, if I put in that I sold 2 bundles this day, 2 bundle 1s this day, maybe 3 individual cubes, it automatically calculates that there are 9, you can see here, 9 units sold for this date. It automatically adjusts the pricing for each bundle based on formulas that are inputted in the form, total revenue for the day, orders shipped, and then the only other thing I have to do is put in whether or not there were any shipping for priority. It will automatically, you can see, it calculated that there were, and this is all hypothetical because I haven't launched, these numbers mean nothing, but it automatically populated that there were 7 units sold in this day. And if I want to put that 3 of them went priority, and on average, between all the orders, most went to, let's say, zone 3, which you can look up on USPS's website, their zone chart. So it just essentially takes the average to make things easier for me. So it'll tell me exactly how much shipping we charge for the day, how much it actually costs, the figure to ship out based on the average, and then how much I, lost on shipping or gained on shipping each day, how much it cost me, and then gross profit, net profit, and all these things. So I feel like this is a very comprehensive chart. Sorry to be so nerdy, but I feel like it's a very comprehensive chart for me to just be able to get started. Oh, and I only have to really manipulate a few of these columns and it'll automatically do the rest for me. And the one thing I really liked as well is that it will actually tell me or kind of forecast in a 3-day kind of average when I'm due to sell out on my product. And it'll automatically tell me, okay, reorder now before it sells out, so that you can restock based on the lead time that was provided by my manufacturer. So if all of these numbers are, let's say, unchanged, they're back to 0, it'll automatically update it. If I have 4 orders one day, 6 of these sold, it'll tell me start reorder, early trigger met. Like it automatically sets the thresholds and will tell me when I'm due to put in a new order with my manufacturer so that hopefully I can manage, total sellouts. Maybe that was too much information for you guys, but I figure, why not share it? This is like so fascinating to me, especially because it's just me and my business partner. Again, we're going to have to be smart about how we manage things because we both still work for full time. And there's so many little things to think about here. And this just kind of takes that off of our plate and does the thinking for us, systematizes it, automates it just to make it easier for me so that all I have to worry about is updating a few values and it'll automatically do the rest. So if you're not using ChatGPT already, I highly recommend it, especially if you're wanting to start a business and you don't know what you're doing, like I don't know what I'm doing. This has been like tremendously helpful. And I imagine that I'll be living in this expense report every single day, kind of tracking Samaán as we build and we grow. And that just alleviates some of that pressure off of me because I'm only one person and I'll be fulfilling all of the orders, making sure that I'm on top of my expenses, paying for things, and then also tracking inventory so that I don't, sell product that I don't have or don't have or fall too into the red because I'm charging too little for shipping or charging too much for shipping for customers, based on their regions, because I'm just strictly going off of, what USPS charges, or an average rather, based on, the entire country. So I hope that was helpful. I think I'm good with this for now. I'm gonna update my actual inventory, make sure that all the inventory numbers that we counted earlier today are gonna be updated so that when it's time to launch, I don't have to worry about it. I can just plug in the amounts that we sold each day and it'll automatically run the calculations for me. It's getting dark outside. We'll see how much I can get done to finish organizing the piles. I wanna be able to pull out my shipping label printer, test it, have everything set up and ready to go. I'm gonna utilize this bookshelf that is right next to my desk. So I have a lot of crap on here that I'm gonna move and find new homes for, because I wanna make sure that I have a nice workspace flow here in my office, because this is where I'm gonna be fulfilling orders. Anyway, I'm yapping on. The sun is going down. I have to walk my dog still. It's still snowing outside. Let's keep going. Hopefully I can wrap up this video before the end of the night. We'll see, fingers crossed. All right, let's go. This is it. My humble home. This small office. My very first fulfillment center. It's not a warehouse. Definitely not flashy. But it's a start. And it's mine. I was talking to a girlfriend recently and I realized something that surprised me. As scary as it is to fail, I think I'm actually more intimidated by succeeding. What if people really are interested in what we're building? What if orders come in faster than I can keep up with on top of my 2 other jobs? What if honoring my grandmother's legacy grows bigger than me, bigger than my story, and somehow touches millions of others carrying their own lives through the world? Can I rise to that? Can I push past my fear, the self-doubt, the urge to play small? I don't know. I don't know the answers to those questions, and if I'm honest, I'm not confident. But I do know this. Confidence isn't something that you're born with. It is earned by trying, by failing forward, by learning, and by getting back up again. And if I have to choose between fear and freedom, well, let freedom ring. All right, I feel like we're getting close to the end. It has been one hell of a day. A lot of it's been on the computer, and I imagine that's just something I'm gonna have to get used to as we get started. Sorry guys if my camera is out of focus. It's been a long day. Anyways, let me show you guys finished product of how I set it up. I'm sure I'll change it 1,000,001 times more, but at least, it's done. Initially, I thought I would put it on this shelf, and then I was like, maybe that's not a good idea because these shelves are made out of glass. So I'd rather just use my entertainment console because it's a little bit more sturdy. I had to maneuver things around a little bit because I had, some memorabilia on there, and this is, generally where I store a lot of my camera gear. But we made it work, so let me show you what I did and then we'll wrap this video up. All right, so for the star of the show, I put the packing cubes here. This box actually just came in yesterday. It is the box that my dog food came in, but it's a pretty large box, and I just feel like, it's not as high, better access to the cubes, and I can just kind of lay them out flat. So I put them in there and they're kind of just living in this corner until I decide maybe I'll get a shelf on this wall and organize them neatly, but for now, I think they're fine. Here are the boxes that they're gonna be shipped out in. I went ahead and left the dust bags inside of this plastic wrap that they came in. I just wanna make sure that they stay clean because we have 2 dogs in the house. I'm mindful that, no hair gets on them whatsoever. That would just be like a nightmare situation for me shipping out to customers. So I just want to make sure that they stay as crisp and new as possible. So they're going to live in that bag until I find a better place to put them. This is the box that we made when we were trying out our bundles earlier today. So I'll just leave it as is because we plan on using that when we make our sales, right? And then here, again, I'm reusing an old Amazon box that came into the mail. It was a bigger size, so I feel like it fit nicely for the mini vacuum compressors, so I put them in there. Here is our Rollo printer that I took out of the box and kind of organized. So the shipping labels, from my understanding, I haven't tried it yet, which is something, maybe this is going to be a part 2 to this video, because there's a lot left on my list that I wanted to get done that I did not get done, but I do want to test this out. But from videos that I've seen, the labels kind of just feed in through here and feed out this way. So I wanted to make sure I gave it enough space to do its thing. Here is the tape dispenser. Already has a little bit of water in it, but it's just going to live there. Moving down here is the scale that I imagine, I'll be using ever so often when I have to figure out new weight, shipment, package, measurements, etc., etc. I also threw some supplies in this shelf. This is camera gear. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to leave it in there for now because space is tight in here. But here is the, paper honeycomb that I can stuff in the bags just to make sure I keep your orders secure. Extra poly bags here. And in here, I went ahead and emptied out this container so that I can put the thank you cards in here. There's some extra tape. The battery stickers are in here, and just like extra little things that are Samaán shipping related. So they're gonna just kind of live in here until I find a better place. But so far, so good. Obviously, there are a lot more things that I can do to improve upon my little fulfillment center setup, but this is where we are, okay? It's just me trying to figure things out, doing this from my home, and whatever. I will figure it out and it will be all good. Anyways, let's sit down for a second because I want to talk about a few more things that I have to do that maybe we'll end up filming in part 2, and then we'll close out this video. Okay, I had to grab my phone here because I'm sure there are some things that I wanted to accomplish today that I didn't, unfortunately, but that's okay. One day at a time. I wasn't expecting, taking the inventory, figuring out the spreadsheet, getting myself organized would take as long as it did, but it is what it is. Anyway, so if you guys are interested, I don't know if this, I don't know if this stuff is actually interesting to you. I really don't know. But I feel like, especially me as a new founder, I am so curious and so thankful and appreciative to other small business owners and founders who so graciously and without cost share this type of information, the nitty-gritty details of everything that you have to do to start up a business. I understand that this is very niche, but I imagine there are some similar processes, especially if you're going through it currently, the growing pains that you had to kind of figure out on your own. So for me, I am all about community, which is why I want to kind of bring you guys along for the ride and just kind of bring you into my world so that you can get a sense of all the effort, love, and attention and care that I'm putting into not only designing a product that I hope that you will love and carry with you throughout the entire world, but that, really requires a lot of like physical and like sweat equity behind the scenes, and not just like, okay, here you go, here's launch day. No, there's like a million and one things that I haven't even figured out yet that needs to be done, but one step at a time. So on that note, if you guys are interested in following, or you even like these kinds of videos, be kind, leave a girl a thumbs up. Probably next video, I'll do a part 2 for this where there are a few things left I need to do. One of the main things is hiring a web developer. I'm using the Shopify website to host my shop store. Shopify is great. This is not a sponsored plug or anything like that. But what I like about it is that it's all encompassing. I don't have to do much of anything. I don't have to learn how to code. They have free templates on there. They have customer support. And it's very intuitive if you are a beginner and starting with like limited resources. Not to mention they do have promotions. Like, for example, when I signed up, you get the first 3 months for $1 before your regular plan kicks in. And I think I pay about $108 a month to have just like a very simple shop. And obviously those plans progress depending on the complexity of your site and, the number of products, I suppose, that you're, planning on selling. Anyways, go to shopify.com to get all the details. I don't want to misspeak. However, a lot of what I have to do to get the site up and running, I just do not have the bandwidth nor the skill or the capacity to do it. So I'm in the process, myself and my business partner are in the process of kind of interviewing web developers that we're locating on Fiverr.com, which is essentially like a gig worker, contractor website of all different kinds of trades and skills on there. And, of course, Shopify and WordPress and other Squarespace and other website hosting platforms. There are people who are skilled and trained at doing these things. So I'm hoping to find someone, secure that down, and then, delivery time is anywhere between like 5 and 10 days. So it can progress pretty quickly, and that's more than I would ever be able to do in a lifetime. So it's just easier for me to pay someone to set it up, even though I'm sure Shopify makes it very simple to do it yourselves. But anyways, to each their own. But that is one of the main hurdles that I'm facing currently on trying to get this business launch, is just setting up a website. I don't expect it to be perfect. This is a very small beta sale that we're doing. And so I know there are going to be several iterations of this site, but I think it's important, even if I fail, even if I make errors, that I just progress. Progression is still a win in my eyes. So that is on the to-do list. Stay tuned for that, because as soon as that happens, hopefully we'll be setting a launch date shortly thereafter. I also have plans to hopefully try and find an IP attorney. These are attorneys who specialize in trademark and basically a whole slew of intellectual property, copyright law, trademarks, patents. As we progress, obviously we have a name that we're using that eventually I would like to trademark, or at least, put a pending application in, or just do a basic search to make sure I'm not infringing upon someone else's intellectual property rights, even though I did my kind of cursory search, but obviously these guys are trained and they know what to look for. So that's also going to be a big expense, but I think it is important, because if you are, this is one of the things that can really get you in trouble. And, a lot of the small business founders that I followed and listened to their testimonies on YouTube not always, but sometimes get caught up on this very topic. They choose a name, but they don't do their research. And then they realize they get a cease and desist letter from some company saying that, hey, you're infringing upon my trademark or my intellectual property rights. So that can be kind of scary. And that's something that I definitely want to avoid. We also did some research, my business partner, on looking for business insurance. That one is something that you can, just like renter's insurance, homeowner's insurance, you can sign up the same day and be insured. It's just to make sure, again, for that very reason, if we ever get a letter from an attorney for a company that we did something wrong, we at least have some security that there's insurance there who could help cover some of those expenses, because things like that can really ruin a small business if you're not careful. And then also, because we are selling products, these types of insurance companies also insure you for product liability, which is something to think about. Maybe not at this stage. It's not important. Might be because I work in the legal field that these things are always rolling around my mind and live rent-free there, all of the legal risks out there. But I think as a responsible business owner, which I absolutely want to be, that is something that is important to me. And, maybe we're not going to do it today or tomorrow, but certainly by the time we launch, I want to have business insurance in place. Expenses. So obviously all of this takes a lot of resources. But thankfully, because I am an LLC, there are some favorable tax write-offs essentially that I can take advantage of. So I've been very meticulously tracking all of my expenses for Samaán for this past year that I've been working on it, and we've been in development and continuing into this year. Obviously, there are platforms out there like QuickBooks and others that can do this for you automatically for a fee. Because my expenses are, maybe a couple things a month, I feel like I've been doing a pretty good tracking it on my own, but eventually when we make sales, I'll probably have to, get a QuickBooks account and set it up with our business banking account, which we also have, just to ensure that I'm not missing anything, that, taxes are being withdrawn, as applicable. That's another big area where you don't want to make those mistakes, because the IRS is the last person that you want on your back. Also very scary. And I've heard testimonies from other small business owners and other founders who, regretfully had some very severe experiences with making sure that they're not putting money aside for their taxes as they should, working with the CPA, a professional, someone who can do this, because it's not me. I don't know anything about business law, taxes, and any of that stuff. So it's just good to do your due diligence and make sure you have the right systems in place to make sure you're crossing your T's and dotting your I's. So that's another thing. What else? Tracking my expenses, the attorney, the website, and And on top of that, I'm also doing marketing for this business, including filming all of this for you guys. And hopefully you find it interesting on YouTube. So it is a lot. It is a lot, but right now it is 10:30 p.m. on a Sunday, and I have to work tomorrow. Thankfully, because of the snowstorm, I'll be working from my home office behind me, so I don't have to commute into the city. But this has been my life for the past year, either getting up early working on Samaán or staying up late working on Samaán. And even though I'm tired, my heart still feels so full, and this is so gratifying for me. And it makes me feel very proud. It really does light me up with joy. And that was something that I was deeply in need of and searching for around this time last year, when I felt like I was in such a dark place and hopeless. Anyways, I don't want to get into it. Actually, I think on that note, I'm probably going to end the video. I've been chatting for way too long. Listen, guys, thank you so much for, if you stuck around to even this point of the video. I'm so grateful and thankful for you. It means the world to me that you even care to click on this video, see what the hell I've been up to, and maybe learn from my mistakes. And hopefully, I'm sure I will make more mistakes, but hopefully I can surround myself with a community of people like you out there who are your own business owners. And, please drop comments down below if there's something red flag or anything that you want to share. I would love to hear from you, because I really appreciate when people pay it forward. And this is my opportunity to do the same by sharing the things that I'm also dealing with on a day-to-day basis, trying to build this business. Okay, on that note, I need to take my ass to bed, because I do have another job that I have to focus on tomorrow. But thank you guys so much for watching, whether it's on my personal channel at Illustrated by Sadé or on my new business channel at mysamaan. Go follow one or the other. But if I don't see you guys in the next video, I hope to see you somewhere around the world, and hopefully one day with one of Samaán's, either the luggage that we have in production coming to you hopefully soon, or one of our packing cubes. All right, guys, I will talk to you later. Have a good night, and I'll see you soon.